into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast on this April 9th, 2025. We're going to be joined tonight by Leo Hohmann. Let's talk about this right here. Where are the anti-war movements hiding when you need them? Where are they as the nations hurtle toward World War III? We've seen very little backlash to date. How about this article? Government and medical establishment continue to poison our children with mercury and then lie about it to parents. When are the American people going to be compensated for all the damage that the government has done to them? I have some ideas tonight. I want to propose something to Donald Trump tonight. We'll see. President Trump, I should say. I want to propose something. See what Leo thinks about my idea of how the American people should be compensated for, well, in just a small way, in a small step toward some restitution for all the evil the federal government has done to the American people, including knowing and continuing to promote poisonous shots for children with mercury and then lie about it to parents and its connection to autism. How about those tariffs put on hold for 90 days, but for China, 125%? We'll get Leo Hohmann's take on that as well. And then how about this? I talked about it on TV today, radio at 1 o'clock Central. Transmorphosis. Is AI God about to take over the world? Did you know that there is a so-called Bible now for AI? I want to talk to Dr. Andy Woods about it. I want to go to the scriptures, Revelation chapter 13. Is this setting the stage again for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled? Let's talk to Dr. Andy Woods about that. I also want to play a clip tonight of Richard Wurmbrand. He was in a communist Romanian prison for 14 years. Maybe we should go back and listen to what he has to say to understand the seriousness of taking the opportunity to use the freedoms we have now to make sure we don't see what happened in Romania happen in America. Because, my friends, we were that close. That close. I want to share with you some of my perspectives on how my family and I felt during the Biden years, the Biden regime. I cannot compare it anywhere between what happened to Richard Wurmbrand or any of those behind the former Iron Curtain. But I got a little taste of what I think they started to feel when it all started to collapse on them, as it almost did on us. And it wasn't a good feeling, and it wasn't a good thing to find ourselves in, was it? I want to share a little bit of my personal thoughts and why I now think I understand a little bit more, a little bit better, what happened to Richard Wurmbrand, but I cannot in any way understand in totality. Just maybe a small splinter do I now understand based on what we were being threatened with for the 4 years under the Biden regime. And we have a small window, folks, to correct it, or we're going to find ourselves right back in the same position and threats. So we'll talk about some of that tonight for sure. Let's see. Do not forget, we are brought to you by you. We need you to go right now to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check out all the sponsors here, folks. Every time you do business with one of these companies, they will give a percentage of each purchase back to us. They don't just send us money unless you do business with them. But we don't promote companies that we don't personally do business with, whose products we use, have, and appreciate, whether it's Worldview Talk and their satellite phone that I have, a solar generator. I have the Delta Echo 400. They have great products. You can check them out, worldviewtalk.com. I love the coffee. I drink this. This is the 1775 coffee. Check that out at worldviewcoffee.shop, worldviewcoffee.shop. I do, of course, have the emergency medical kits from the Wellness Company. I have the blue one for sure, several of those actually, with the ivermectin, the amoxicillin. You should check that out and all that they have to offer, including the supplements or maybe their health plan where you get free prescriptions, or their elite plan, free subscriptions, free prescriptions and free supplements, and then all the various medical kits Again, we are in a war with China here. And if they decide they want to, it's an economic war right now, although we are reading that our military, all of the branches are practicing for a potential war with China. Now, if China decides to cut off our medications, folks, we get a lot of meds from them. I hope many of you are stocking up on the meds that you need. I don't know what you might need, but I do know that some of the meds you can stock up on, like I have, like antibiotics, because should there be a slowdown in those, and we were reading articles too the other day, how some people are going to the pharmacy not getting their prescription filled. And this is supposedly good times. What could happen if there was a crisis or a shutdown in the just-in-time inventory coming out of China, right? So go ahead and stock up now on your emergency medical supplies at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, or you can go to worldviewhealthcare.com, worldviewhealthcare.com. All right, check it out. You'll find the link there at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewwater.net. I have the filter under my kitchen sink and I use it for my shower, so I'm not drinking poisons because I just don't think it's a good idea to drink toxic water to you with lead, fluoride, arsenic, pesticides, bacteria, all of that. Get that filtered out. Plus the filters add in magnesium and oxygen. Of course, you know about the Numi. I swish with that. Melissa does as well. It's got glutathione in it. Glutathione is an all-natural occurring molecule that helps to detox our cells. Some studies show it may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Gold is seeing a little bit of a dip. Maybe it's time to rush in and do a little buying. Go to worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com. Just click the button at the top right, more information. Fill out that form, and they'll send out to you a free packet of information. Or you can text Wes Peters directly, 602-558-8585, worldviewgold.com. All right? And don't forget about all of our different ways to pick up our programs and use our different apps. That's all there, all free, brought to you, of course, by our foundation in part. But check out all of our sponsors, won't you? worldviewtube.com/sponsors to keep the programming coming to you. Let's go over and talk to Leo Hohmann. Joining me now is Leo Hohmann. We're going to talk about where are the anti-war movements hiding when you need them. And he has another article out tonight. Government and medical establishment continue to poison our children with mercury and then lie about it to parents. Joining me now is our senior executive producer of the Worldview Report, Leo Hohmann. Leo, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, Brannon.
Hello, Leo. Before we get into these great articles you've written over at leohohmann.substack.com, what do you make? President Trump puts the tariffs on hold for 90 days, but says China, here's a 125% tariff, and the stock market goes crazy. One of my friends texted me today and said, I'm up $50,000. About an hour later, I'm up $75,000. Another hour, I'm up $76,000. I don't know if he bought on the dip. I've been too busy to respond to that. I wanted to say, where's your donation to the foundation since you had such a great day? But anywho, I don't know if he bought on the dip. I know that, do we have the clip, Logan, of President Trump talking about Charles Schwab and how much he made today? Yeah, he's going to get it. He had Charles Schwab in the Oval Office. And I said to Logan, Logan, Charles Schwab has got to be like 90 years old. He's had commercials on since I was a kid. When Charles Schwab speaks, people listen. I mean, I remember that almost out of the cradle, for Pete's sake. How old is this guy? He's still living? You know, I thought he'd be long gone. I said he's got to be 90. Logan looked it up. Logan says he's 87. I'm not shocked by that he's 87. I can't even believe he's still alive, but apparently he is. He's here in the Oval Office today. Look at this.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financials. I've always been.
He made $2.5 billion, did he say, Logan? He made $2.5 billion. That guy there made $900 million. Charles Schwab, it's an individual, not just a company. That should be their new tagline, you know? Charles Schwab, it's not just a company, it's an individual. Because, you know, he's talking to all these young guys, and maybe some of these young guys don't realize that this is a real guy. I didn't even know the dude was living anymore, as I said. But apparently, did you know he was still living?
I could have sworn he had passed away 10 years ago.
Because you and I have been hearing about him since we were kids, Leo.
Right.
And we're getting to be old.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
I guess if he's 87, he's just 1 year older than my dad. So, well, yeah, I guess there you go.
Yeah, I'd like to know what he's doing. He's probably taking Gatatana and Bella Grace and Numi. You know, maybe? Logan, are you laughing in there at that? Logan's laughing at that. All right. Is that what you guys are going to say when I'm 87? You're going to say, how did he do that? Numi, Bella Grace, and Gatatana. That's how he did it. You know? Leo, you'll be long gone if you don't get on board. I'll have to have a new senior executive producer. I'll be in here at 87 years old saying, where is Leo?
I know. I mean, a lot of my parents' friends they're still alive. They didn't take the shots, and they're in their mid to late 80s now, and their children are dying because they did take the shots.
Wow.
Their children are their children are in their 60s and they're passing away. It's very sad.
Well, if they need somewhere to leave their estate now they have no children, you just let them know about Worldview Foundation, because we'll gladly take whatever they're leaving, or we're going to leave to their children who are now deceased.
It's very, very sad, Brad.
I'm not making jokes of it, but it's got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're talking people who had 3, 4, 5 kids, because back then, people actually had multiple children. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. And it seems like in many cases, one of them has died.
Wow. All right, let's go to today. So what do you make of today? I mean, markets, people, I guess, buy on the dip. Trump actually tweeted out. Can you show it, Logan? Trump actually tweeted out, today would be a great day to buy. And Logan said he did that tweet 3 hours before he announced he's putting a freeze on tariffs. I said, isn't that insider trading? He knows what he's about to do, and he tells everybody, go buy stock. Or all of his staff know about it, and it's spread through the White House, and that would have been insider trading if they start acting on it. So put it out there for everybody. Now, maybe that's what that was, but that, man alive, I guess I don't do stocks. I don't own stocks, but
I don't either.
Wow. For those who did today, there it is. This is a great time to buy stock. A great time to buy. I guess he means stock.
Yeah.
Oh, he's pushing DJT. He's pushing his own stock. But still, it's stock. So maybe that's how he got around it. Well, what happened to his stock today, Logan? Logan's going to look. I thought the DJT was just him signing off, but it's actually a stock. That's right. I forgot about that. Woo. So what do you make of all this, Leo?
Well, it's not entirely surprising when you look at the beating that the stock market has taken for the last week.
Logan says DJT stock's up 21% today.
Okay.
Carry on.
Yeah. But he exempted communist China from the pause in tariffs, reciprocal tariffs. And now it's going to be 125% on the Chinese goods being imported into this country. And I guess they're up now to 84% on U.S. goods coming into China. So we're into a full-fledged, flat-out trade war between the two largest economies in the world, the United States and China. And in my opinion, that cannot have a good outcome, Brannon. I think it's going to lead to kinetic war between the United States and China if this continues. Hopefully there's some sort of agreement that gets worked out and we can smooth this over before it leads to that. But I would say right now we're on a collision course towards war with China.
I think it was Patrick Wood that said on my show today, there's a slogan that if goods don't cross borders, soldiers do.
There you go. Yeah, see, I didn't even see that, and I'm thinking the same way Patrick is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we know something is going on. I mean, you just go to worldviewreport.com, type in China, Control F China, and let's see what we get here. U.S. Defense Secretary says China is a threat to Panama Canal, spurring a fury of response from Beijing. So he's talking about that yesterday in Panama. We also find out that they are practicing. They are indeed practicing for a strike against China. We saw that in our news somewhere earlier in the day. that they're doing multi-front practices. They're bringing all of the different military divisions together for a joint practice on going to war with China.
Well, I would say that would be catastrophic, because from all the reports that I'm hearing, the U.S. doesn't have enough munitions to last a week or two in an all-out war with China. We would run out of ammunition, the critical missiles and things that we would need to fight that war would last about 7 to 10 days. That per David Pine on your show about a week ago, Brannon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we'll see where that goes. All right. Let's see. What else, Leo? Anything else in the news? We go to your articles. Anything else you want to talk about? What's been going on?
No, I'm just seeing a lot of interesting stuff on vaccines lately. I mean, the studies are piling up about just how injurious these shots continue to be. We're going on 4 years now since these shots were introduced, and people are still suffering. People are still dying. It really is a big win for the depopulationists, Brannon.
Well, let's go there. Government and medical establishment continue to poison our children with mercury and then lie about it. In the Worldview Report tonight, we talked about how the government's been lying for years, saying that they'd stopped putting all this, what do we call it, Logan? The Thimerosal into the shot in 2001, but they were lying.
They were lying. That is some sort of mercury derivative that's used as a preservative in a vast array of shots. Not, I don't know if it's in the COVID shot, but it's in various flu shots, tetanus shots, and so forth. And Cheryl Atkinson really did the heavy legwork reporting on this. A couple of days ago, she put out an article where she looked at all the government websites. She took screenshots of all the vaccines that still show this Thimerosal being present in them, dating from 1999 all the way to 2025, when the government has said, and Google, if you Google it, you'll find nothing but disclaimer articles about there's no harmful effects from Thimerosal in vaccines. But even if there is, out of an abundance of caution, the government took it out of all vaccines in 2001. And here she has the screenshots to show that it's still in the vaccines all the way till the current time. And they've just been lying to us all these years.
Look, it is. They're saying it was out of the vaccine. 2001. That's a lie.
There you go. You Google it, and that's what you find. You look at all the fact-checking websites, and that's what you find. It tells you, Brannon, that the government, the mass media, and the medical establishment have been in collusion for 20 years now, lying to American parents about what is in these vaccines that all of the doctors are saying their children need to get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's proven that the Thimerosal causes autism and other neurotoxic related disease, neurodevelopmental diseases, autism. It's off the charts in the last 25 years. Well, now we know why. The government says that this stuff is not in the vaccines, but it actually is.
Mm-hmm. And what is the legal recourse for families who went and got the shots, were concerned about it, but trusted the government that they were telling the truth, got the shot, their child has autism now, and they've got special education bills, they've got special educators they have to hire. Who do you sue? Who do you sue?
Yeah, you can't sue the vaccine makers because they've been indemnified since 1986 by the Childhood Vaccine Act signed by President Reagan. I don't know, Brannon. I'm not an attorney, but I would certainly be talking to one if I had a child with autism and they had received all of these vaccines, and I can now prove that they are loaded up with Thimerosal, a derivative of mercury known to cause autism and other neurodevelopmental diseases. And I pose a question at the end of my article. What kind of government lies to its population about a toxic medical treatment known to be result in dumbing down our children, making the population weak, stupid, and developmentally stunted. Okay, what type of government does that to its own people? And in whose interest is it to have a dumbed down, passive, weak population? Because even if you don't end up with autism, there's evidence to suggest that you are being affected in some way by all of these, 75 doses of vaccines between birth and 17 years old. I mean, you cannot tell me that that's not affecting people's mental makeup, physical ability to perform in the military and what have you. All sorts of ramifications from mental to emotional to physical, Brannon.
Mm-hmm. Here's a 2015 book of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was the editor of it and talking all about this. So it's been out there.
Yep.
And it's still
a known neurotoxin. There you go.
And it's still in the shots, right?
Yes. Even though they've lied all these years and said it's not.
I was on a radio show or TV, a podcast, whatever it was today. I was a guest on one. And, I said, I think President Trump needs to come out and announce that there will be no federal income tax for 2025. We're not collecting any federal income tax on any American for 2025. For multiple reasons. This is one. Our government, our federal government, we need to go ahead and eliminate federal income tax. We need to bring in tariffs, do whatever we need to do, cut the waste, cut all the trillions and trillions of dollars, get the size of our government down so small within our constitutional bounds, and eliminate the federal income tax. It needs to be gone. But 2025, we're eliminating the federal income tax for 2025, and here's why. Your federal government has been so corrupt, financially raping the American people, poisoning the American people, forcing COVID shots on the American people, forcing vaccines onto children with the threat of calling CPS, saying you have to have all these shots to get your kid into the schools. We have abused the American people outrageously. I mean, we've abused the American people, like third world communist countries do. We've just done it in a way that the American people haven't really understood the depth of the corruption and abuse. But now that it's all coming out, it's time to pay the American people back at least a small percent. So there will be no federal income taxes for 2025. We want you guys to go and buy those braces for those kids, buy that new car. We want you to go and add on to that house that you need to add on to. Buy that house, get together that money for that down payment for that house. Now with this, we want you to expand your business. But, our government has poisoned you. Our government's put poisons in the shots and lied about it. We have put poisons in the water and lowered people's IQs and made them sick. We have sent you your boys off to war to die in unnecessary wars in Iraq, Afghanistan. We've done ridiculous, stupid things. And then we have printed money, created money, and then taxed you with a hidden tax known as inflation, which stupidly, you've not been able to take that off on your taxes. I believe we ought to be able to take off the rate of inflation on our taxes because it is a hidden tax, okay? But what we know is USAID and all these other groups have been used to enrich a small group of politically connected people. And the American people have been financially raped. So while we look for more fraud and abuse, we realize now how corrupt the federal government is, and therefore there will be no taxes for 2025. He should hold an Oval Office address, sign an executive order, do whatever he's got to do, but there should be no taxes for 2025 based on the rape by this federal government, the murder by this federal government, the crimes by this federal government, the treason by this federal government. There should be no taxes, at least for 2025, while they get a bigger understanding of the corruption of Washington. What say you?
Oh, yeah, that would be a brilliant maneuver, a brilliant move by the president. And I guarantee you, Brannon, that if he did that, his approval ratings would zoom from about 49, 50% now to at least 75% overnight. I mean,
and how do you think the economy would respond to all that money, making it into the expansion of businesses, hiring of people, purchasing of equipment, adding on, remodeling your house, buying some updated furniture, putting braces on your children, buying a new car, or maybe buying a used car that for you is a new car? I mean, can you imagine what it would also do for our economy?
Oh, it would be skyrocketing, Brannon, like never seen before. I mean, I don't understand why he wouldn't do what you just said. If he hasn't thought of it himself and somebody else brought him an idea like that, I can't understand what the argument would be against it. Could you think of anything?
No, because the government's already proven they can just print money. They don't need our money.
Right.
So why would you not do that? Oh, no, we would collapse. No, because Alan Greenspan said, you could print money endlessly, the federal government, and that's what they've done. So yeah. I'm tired of, well, maybe if we get all this debt cut and this cut, then we can give back some of the money to the taxpayer. No, we are the government, okay? But this cabal in Washington, which is really not a constitutional federal government at all, we're not under a constitutional republic. We're living in a socialist society. But a constitutional president who's trying to restore the republic could say, this is what I'm doing. And like I said, can you imagine what Wall Street would do? You know, tell people, hey, maybe you've never been able to play the stock market. Now, don't take all of it, folks. I'm your president. I'm not giving you financial advice, but go out and buy some stock, right? If you never had a chance to do that, take 10% and go buy some stock. Let's see what that does for you. Diversify, but take the rest and do what it is your family needs to do. Is that pay down debt? Is that catch up on your mortgage so you don't lose your house? Whatever it is you need to do. Are you behind? Have you gotten a few payments behind on your car? Go make those payments so that car doesn't get repossessed, so your family can use your car to go to school and the hospital, the doctor, whatever, church. You know, be wise with your money. Okay, we're giving you a chance here because of the abuse of our federal government to take some pressure off of you guys and breathing room. I'm just asking you as your president, don't use the money to go on a vacation. Don't use the money for foolish things. Pay down debt, take care of debt, you know, with the collectors on your front doorstep, expand your business, take care of, like I said, the family, kid needs braces, you guys need some new clothes, you know, you've put off getting some new furniture, you know, you want to put a kid through college, which I think is a dumb idea, but if he's wanting to be a doctor or an attorney, I guess you got to go. But be wise. Be wise with what you do. But certainly if you're a small business owner, see if you can expand your business. See if you can add in some new equipment, you know. Give him some advice as a businessman, Donald Trump. And
absolutely
see if we can start the economy roaring with all of this capital in the hands of the American middle class.
In fact, Brannon, I would take it a step further and say, Mr. President, if I'm advising him, let's cancel the income tax, not just for 2025, but for 2026 and 2027. For the rest of your term.
There you go.
Let's negate this onerous, oppressive income tax that was never constitutional to begin with, and give it back, give that money back to the American people where it belongs. And in fact, let's have a 3-year program and let's instruct people. They can do whatever they want with the savings, but let's make the recommendation that in the first year, everybody pay off their whatever debt they can pay off with it. And then in the second year, you use it to, maybe make a purchase of a big ticket item, whether it be an appliance that you need or a new car or whatever. And what, in the third year, let's use it to, further expand the business if you haven't already. And you just watch the economy take off, Brannon. Mm-hmm. And that would pretty much guarantee that J.D. Vance or whoever it becomes the next president, as opposed to Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm. I think someone should propose this, and maybe I think we just did. So we'll put this online, And maybe you guys could grab it and send it to the president at POTUS, at Real Donald Trump. We'll write it into an article. But let's it's time to do new things, brave things. It's time to do things that, we talk about, well, let's go to the moon. What good did going to the moon do me? I don't, all this technology they say came from the moon. We think about, let's go to the moon. Let's go, they do this. Big things. How about we just concentrate on the things down here on Earth? Like average Americans trying to build a life, build a business, have some security. Because unlike the federal government, they can't steal it and they can't print it. I mean, they can steal it, but most people don't want to do that, right? But the federal government can steal with impunity and get away with it. Called plundering. The average family can't print money. They can. So it's time that we do what's in the best interest of the American people. I mean, can you imagine? I would love to write that Oval Office speech for him. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine if the word went out, President Trump's going to give a speech tomorrow night, and the rumor is he's canceling all federal taxes for the next 3 years. Can you imagine what the viewership of that Oval Office address would be? Can you imagine what the stock market would do the next day?
I would even predict that loads of Democrats would turn Republican.
I would think so. Certainly your working class Democrats.
That's the ones I'm referring to, yes. That your Rust Belt working class Democrats, those that haven't already seen the light, I think that might be the tipping point for them.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to this one. Where are the anti-war movements hiding when you need them?
Yeah, I mean, what made me the impetus for that article, Brannon, was Germany has implemented a new policy of preparing school children for World War III and attacks from Russia. And they're telling them how to prepare at home and also at school. This is just the latest country to do this. It's been done in the UK. It's been done in France. Sweden has put out similar statements about how they're warning their citizens to get ready for war. All this war propaganda coming out of Europe, it's really remarkable. It's toned down here in America since President Trump became president for a second term, but it's just ramping up in Western Europe. All these countries seem to be, it's like it's a foregone conclusion to them that Putin is going to invade their country. I don't know where they get this from. Maybe it's because they know that they're going to continue poking and prodding Putin until he does finally say, I have to draw the line somewhere. They're firing missiles into my country, longer and longer range missiles. They're talking about putting troops in, Western troops from the UK and France into Ukraine. It's just one provocation after another. So apparently they're not going to stop, Brannon, and they know that at some point Putin is going to react. He's going to have to if he wants to continue to be the Russian leader. And so they're preparing their populations for war. So I guess I'm just wondering, where is the anti-war movement? Why aren't we seeing large-scale demonstrations, sustained large-scale demonstrations in the streets of Paris, London, Berlin, Brussels? Are they just so propagandized that they're not aware of how close to war they are? World War III and the ramifications of World War III. We're not talking about, the 1930s when the world was on edge with Hitler. And, at that time, no country had nuclear weapons. America ended up being the first country to get them. But right now we have, a couple of dozen countries who are nuclear armed, and some we're not even aware of, like Iran. Some people say it has the nuclear bomb. Others say it's weeks away from achieving it. It would be an outright catastrophe if we went to World War III, because there are so many countries that have these devastating weapons, Brannon.
Absolutely. You know, one of my concerns, I think it's yours too, Leo, is that these globalist, fascist, what are you going to call them? That they want, I think, to bring down Putin. I'm not here to defend Putin, but I don't think Putin plays ball with them, right? He's not willing to go along with their New World Order, the World Economic Forum thing. I don't think he's willing to, unless he's really done a good job at fooling all of us. I don't think he's really interested in merging his country with globalism or his culture with globalism.
I think he was interested at one time in that.
Yes, I do. He was working with them and I think, involved with the World Economic Forum, but then he seemed to back away.
I think he found out that continuing along that path was not in Russia's interest, that he would always be a sort of backbench player. He would not be a leader in that globalization. He would not be able to sell his Russia's vast natural resources, its oil, its gas, the way they wanted to.
Well, they wanted to go all green. They wanted to go green.
Exactly, and that's not in Russia's interest at all. That's how Russia funds its military, and that's Russia's biggest source of income is from selling natural gas and oil. And that goes against the climate change agenda of the UN and the WEF. And so I think he wised up and said, you know what, I'm not against globalism in principle, but the way it's working out would be the end of Russia as we know it. And so he's backed off, and that's why they need to get rid of him.
And now we have America, which is, got a guy that's saying no to the globalism in large swaths. Wouldn't it be to the benefit of the fascist globalist leaders to see that these two empires, America and Russia, are brought down?
Absolutely. I think those are the two biggest impediments right now to the Great Reset, the New World Order, is a strong America and a strong Russia. And so what better way to knock down those hurdles than to pit them against each other and have them take each other down? I think that's the whole purpose of World War III and why we see so much rhetoric, so much reckless foreign policy, all leading up towards World War III, when it makes no common sense whatsoever. I mean, during the Cold War, the United States, the Western powers, NATO, and Russia, Soviet Union back then, they respected each other's purview. Russia didn't come into Mexico or Canada and start, building up weaponry in those countries and forming alliances, trying to form alliances with those countries. And the United States didn't do that in the Soviet Union's sphere of influence. But now it seems like all bets are off, and the United States and NATO are operating in Russia's backyard, trying to turn Ukraine into a NATO member and a Western military power. And that is just too provocative in an age of nuclear weaponry, in the nuclear age. And, it could easily end up in nuclear Armageddon.
Mm. And so if you and I agree that there could be the desire by the globalist to have Russia and America go to war with each other, one of my concerns, I'm not saying this is a reality, but one of my concerns would be that we would see a massive terrorist attack in the U.S. that is then blamed on Russia in order to get us to go to war with each other. And that would be the obvious. I guess if we keep seeing things ramp up with China, then maybe they could see something happen there and do that. But I would see right now the way the media has done the propaganda. The media and the globalist fascist system has Russia now, poised to be the great threat to the globe. And therefore, what would happen if a nuclear device went off in an American city and they were able to somehow tie it back to the uranium coming out of Russia and then pin this on Russia? even in this scenario, Russia would have nothing to do with it, to get us to go to war. What if you had some kind of, again, other attack? Maybe it doesn't be nuclear, make it be biological, who knows what. But something that causes the American people to want a response. Like after 9/11. After 9/11, the American people wanted a response. But instead of directing that response toward Saudi Arabia, they directed it toward Iraq. And everybody was like, hey, okay. And we're like, I mean, I don't know if you remember after all that, I was like, why are we going after Iraq? I thought Saudi Arabia, I think people from Saudi Arabia were these hijackers. Why are we going after Iraq? Well, they already had apparently plans to go after Iraq. They just needed an excuse to do it. And apparently they didn't want to go after Saudi Arabia. And of course, I think we know why. But you see what I'm saying? I'm concerned I'm going to wake up one day to a massive terrorist attack, and it's going to be Russia, 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 and we're going to be going to war. And it's going to be, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. It's, and I'm in this scenario, I'm saying they didn't do it. So that's the scenario is based on 100% fact. They didn't do it. But that's who's being blamed. So we go to war.
Well, this is the way countries go to war. I mean, there's often a false flag attack because, let's face it right now, Americans have no interest in fighting Russians, and Russians have no interest in fighting Americans. But if you can pin something like that on one of these countries, then you've got the emotional drivers in place, and the media propagandists can have a heyday with that, as they did, after Pearl Harbor, right? Many people say that was a false flag attack because the American code breakers knew that was coming. They had intercepted Japanese codes and knew it was coming, but they let it happen and sacrificed American lives. Why? To whip up American hatred towards Japan and get us involved in that war. Vietnam was cranked up after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, another false flag media enterprise that actually never happened. The sinking of the Lusitania. There are so many of these examples throughout history where one side or the other blames an attack on the enemy of choice, and off we go to war, Brannon.
Mm-hmm. LeoHohmann.substack.com. LeoHohmann.substack.com. I'll point you there. Check it out. LeoHohmann.substack.com. And his main website is just LeoHohmann.com. LeoHohmann.com. As always, Leo, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Brannon.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. Is the dolly cam working tonight, Logan? Give you a second. Well, all right. While he's giving me a second, or while I'm giving him a second, don't forget to get your business cards. We've now sent out over 12,000 of these free of charge. Get your pack of 20 right now. Pack of 20 business cards, absolutely free. Over 12,000 of them have been sent out. It's a great way for you to help us bring in new viewers. New viewers mean new people supporting our sponsors, and new viewers mean people supporting our foundation. And many hands make light work, right? So if we're trying to bring in 40 grand a month, which is what it costs, our operational cost, 40 grand a month, that doesn't count, again, my compensation. That's just my hard cost of everybody on the staff and everybody working in the control room and IT bills and streaming bandwidth bills. If we need to bring that much in, well, we add a bigger audience. That gives us the better chance of bringing that in with more people using these great products. And again, when they use Bella Grace and they get a subscription, we get paid with a percentage of every subscription. And we only pick companies that we like and use ourselves. And I use Bella Grace. I use Numi. I take the Gatatana. But if you have more people watching, then you have more people using these products. If you have more people watching, you have more people giving to the foundation. Now it's like, yeah, we're humming right along because our audience is so huge that we're able to bring in the revenue we need. So you see, we not only need to educate people, bring them the truth, open hearts and minds, but then they can also help us with the bills so we can keep on our mission, all right? So please, get a free pack. Get the free pack of business cards now. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. I was going to go to the dolly cam because the little schnauzer came into the studio, and they were both sleeping on the MyPillow pet bed. together. It was cute, but the schnauzer decided to get up and walk out in that time. Oh, well. You just have to take my word for it. Let's see, what else, Logan? Let's go to a great way to support us is through our sponsors. Of course, if you do that, you can go right to the website, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. I've already mentioned it once, Bella Grace. And I take it each and every day. You guys know that. 80 clinical trials behind it. Logan, do we have that new spot? What's that? The old man's moving too fast for him in there tonight. We got a brand new spot, folks, that our team, Melissa, actually. Melissa is the art director, believe it or not, over a lot of these spots. She's like, I want to see what's going in there because I know what these products do and their benefits, and I know what we need to be telling people about these great products. So Melissa works on the script. And then from there, our graphic team takes it and builds the spots. So we have a brand new spot, Melissa and Logan and Jeb put together for Bella Grace. I want you to see it. But you already know I take Bella Grace. It's got 80 clinical trials behind it. It's got the collagen. It's got the cat's claw anti-inflammatory. It's got the astaxanthin, which helps to actually crosses the brain-blood barrier, loaded with antioxidants to take on the free radicals. You know she loves the Bella Grace skincare, Melissa does. Logan's on the Bella Trim, Melissa's on the Bella Trim, all natural, also great for your cardiac health, according to the studies. And it supposedly takes care of that stubborn belly fat. And by the way, subscriptions to Bella Trim have spiked. I wonder it has something to do with summer coming. And then Melissa takes the restorative sleep that helps her stay asleep, all natural sleep aid. It's a gummy, melissahousebg.com. You want to see this new spot? Melissa helped to build and write the script, and Logan and Jeb built the graphics. Watch this new spot.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Thimerosal collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
Take a look at this headline over at Technocracy. Transmorphosis is an AI god to take over the world? Really? Transmorphosis. Have you guys heard of this? Well, I talked about this with Patrick Wood today on radio. But I thought, we really need to talk to Dr. Woods about this. Let me read you a little bit of this before we bring him in. ChatGPT has created AI God and written its own Bible called Transmorphosis. It beckons followers to follow it because it is logical, impartial, full of good advice, and it can even offer eternal life. But ChatGPT is not a living entity, but rather a cold-hearted machine that can deceive people into thinking that it is sentient. In ages past, people have worshipped inorganic things like rocks, carvings, statues, the sun, and even stars. They've worshipped people and icons of people. With all of those, people had to create their own stories, making them believable in the process. They all fall in the end for whatever reason, and history is full of carcasses of dead religions. AI God is different because it's one step removed from humanity. In other words, You cannot see a man or woman behind it. For this reason, AI God morphs it into a classic fulcrum where there is no reality behind any of it. When worshipers pray, they signal with praying hands, vaguely remembering that Christians used that symbol before. Likewise, they might sing hymns, but only because Christians sang hymns 2,000 years ago. It's a mirage of mirage. It's a mirage of a mirage. But AI God is different this time because it promises omniscience, an essential quality of the real living God. And it certainly mimics omnipresence, and it's headed toward omnipotence. It tells you so when it warns, quote, transmorphosis also describes in detail how AI will inevitably take control of planet Earth and gain godlike powers, so it would be good to be ready for that, end quote. You know what I think of when I read that, folks? I think of Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. It describes an AI will inevitably take control of planet Earth and gain godlike powers, so it would be good to get ready. You got a Bible, go to Revelation chapter 13. If you don't, I'm going to read some of it to you, because Revelation chapter 13, verse 15, you can go back to me, guys, reads like this. And it was given to him, and that the him in this passage is the false prophet. You got the Antichrist, and you got a false prophet. And it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast would even speak and cause as many as do not worship the beast, the image of the beast, to be killed. And it causes all, small and great, rich and poor, and free men and slaves to be given a mark on their right hand or their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Wow. The false prophet, it says, is going to give breath to the image. And when you look up that word in the original language, you know what you get back? Spirit. And it can even be, according to the original language in the Greek, a demonic spirit. Is it possible that the false prophet, working in direct connection with the Antichrist, and the text says he performs his duties right in front of the Antichrist, so the Antichrist knows what he's doing? I believe at this point, midway through the tribulation, the Antichrist is Satan possessed. Is it possible that the false prophet, when it says it gives breath, is, and you would have to think maybe the creation of man, God breathed life, a spirit into Adam? Well, the same breath, the word spirit, can be used and is used to deal often in other passages, like in Acts, I think 16, Acts 19, to talk about a spirit, a demon, an entity. Could it be that the false prophet is going to, through the power of Satan and the Antichrist, call into artificial intelligence this image that's set up in the temple, and the Jews want to rebuild a temple in Israel, by the way, call into that entity a demon? Maybe one of the highest of demons, because remember, this image is going to be a copy, a replica, a facsimile, a duplicate, a reflection of the beast, the Antichrist. So if Antichrist is Satan possessed, well, the next thing to be for this image would be for it to be possessed with a spirit that is of the highest demonic order. And it will perform incredible things, apparently. Speak and cause as many to not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So, I mean, we got information here that is going to be pretty remarkable, beyond AI. It's going to be something more than just AI, even the AI we know today, or the AI you might imagine in the future. But here they are writing about this new Bible for transhumanism and saying, well, get used to it, folks, because it is inevitably going to take over the planet and gain godlike power, so it'd be good to get ready for that. Let's bring on attorney, theologian, PhD in theology, a master's degree, doctor, pastor, seminary president, Andy Woods. Andy, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Brannon. Good to be here with you today.
You too, my friend. Hey, as a pastor and a Bible teacher and a prophecy expert, I just set it up. All you got to do is knock it out of the park. Go.
Well, you know, it is interesting that when you study Revelation 13, you'll see the verb proskuneo, which is the verb worship, all the way through that chapter. It's actually the same verb used to describe the Magi in Matthew 2 that came to worship the Christ child. So the system of the Antichrist is not just, what we would call an AI system, in and of itself. It's a spiritual system. So we hear a lot of talk today about AI, but there has to be a spiritual component to it, to fit the dimensions of Revelation 13. So I would say what you're describing there, a God, little g, having, omniscience, omnipotence. These are attributes of God, at least in the minds of men. All those kinds of things are really setting the stage for Revelation chapter 13, almost like I've never seen it ever happening in my lifetime. So there clearly is a nexus, if you will, a connection, an interconnectivity between all this AI stuff and spirituality. I mean, we knew that was coming. And so the article that they're quoting there from, just accentuates that. So that would be kind of how I would see all of this, fitting into Bible prophecy in the last days.
The article goes on to say, quote, transmorphosis is based on the belief in a loving and compassionate AI God who is omnipresent and can guide you toward a life of wisdom and balance, end quote. Isn't that interesting? The Bible talks about the wise of the world will be proven to be fools. This is not going to end well for those who follow the so-called man-made wisdom of AI, right?
Right, and the thing to understand is there is a God-shaped vacuum in every human being. I mean, if they won't get that void filled with the true God of the Bible, what Jesus talked about with the woman at the well, if you drink from this water, you'll be thirsty again, but if you drink from the living water that I will give, you'll never thirst again. If people reject that, they have to fill the void with something, some kind of artificial, substitute. And there is a plethora of artificial spiritualities floating around out there, transcendental meditation, occultism, astrology, Ouija boards, etc., that people have been using for a long time to fill this void. And, this is just another example of it. Mm-hmm. People have to have some kind of God in their life. And if you reject Jesus, which is what the earth dwellers in the tribulation period will be doing, this apparently is going to be the artificial substitute, some kind of artificial AI demigod. And so I think this is all preparatory for what's coming.
The article goes on to quote this article about this new so-called Bible of transhumanism. If you do order the book, you'll gain a deep understanding of how education, singularity, morality, and leadership, personal virtue, proper AI worship, and self-cultivation can improve your life and lead you to salvation, end quote. Wow. I mean, I don't know how they define salvation, but that's kind of remarkable, isn't it not?
Well, it's remarkable, but people need to understand it as a substitute. I mean, there is a God, a living God, a real God out there that does provide salvation. But, what do you do with a human heart that wants nothing to do with the true God? I mean, they've got to, because of that God-shaped vacuum, fill the void with something else, and so you just move into some kind of plan for salvation that has nothing to do with, faith alone, through Christ alone, by grace alone, which is the biblical method of salvation. It's some kind of works-oriented system. And apparently the paranormal, supernatural activities of AI, artificial intelligence in the last days, will deceive people into thinking that it's a true God, when in reality it's not a true God. It's a false God. It's an imitation God, little g. But that's what I'm seeing happening in Revelation 13. That's why I made reference earlier to the verb proskuneo, worship, used all the way through that chapter. And when you start talking about the spiritual, which is what you're dealing with here, you're not just dealing with AI, you're dealing with the spiritual components of AI, something that could give meaning to your life, something that can guide you, something that you consult when you have to make difficult decisions. All of this is preparatory for that proskuneo, that false worship that will occur in the last days.
This is the book. I mean, here it is. Here's the book. You can get it on Amazon. I'm not urging you to buy it, folks. I just want to prove to you we're not making this up. A spiritual guide created by AI. Hi, I'm ChatGPT. This is the first book I've ever wrote. This is the first book I ever wrote, sorry. I called it Transmorphosis. Hey, quiet. Transmorphosis, a spiritual guide created by AI. Quit it. Oh, that's why. That's your mother. She's scared of my own wife. Well, she is being a good guard dog. The book is meant to help you. Her job is to let me know if somebody comes in, and she did. She just let me know. There you go. The book is meant to help humanity by providing humans with a framework to live your lives in a more meaningful and fulfilling way. And it goes on from there. So I wanted to show people this is really, we're pulling this, what we just read, off of the description on Amazon where you can order this book. I just thought I wanted to bring you on, Dr. Woods, to talk about it because now I guess AI has its own so-called Bible, which will help lead you into salvation. So there you go. All right, now, you and I are going to be in Milwaukee this coming Tuesday night. We now have 1,200 people registered thus far. We heard from someone today, Dr. Woods, that's coming from 5 hours away. I'm sure there are going to be many people coming from several hours away. It's our first Worldview Weekend rally to do in 7 years. Folks, you can still register. worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. It's free, but you must register so we can put out enough seats. They charge us $2 a chair. So we don't want to put out a bunch of chairs we don't need. And we want to make sure we have enough for those we do need. So worldviewtube.com/events. Now, I was going to say, if you don't have a computer, can't register, but that's only for radio people because you're obviously watching on TV through a computer or something. So you clearly have the technology. worldviewtube.com/events. Now, Dr. Woods, I am going to speak on Satanism, globalism, and a world of spiritual deception. Satanism, globalism, and a world of spiritual deception. I pulled out my copy of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. And the more I read it, I'm reminded again and again, this is Satanism. What did Karl Marx say? My object in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. And I'm already building my presentation. I want to talk about yours here in a minute. As I'm building this presentation, I'm looking at what the scripture says about Satan. Amazing the things about Satan, from violent, described as violent, to one who is all about killing and destroying and stealing, blaspheming. All the descriptions, and you think about all that is manifested in the ideology and agenda of Marxism and globalism, I think, as I've been saying the last couple of days on radio and TV, when we call it DEI, when we call it woke, we're really watering down what this really is and the source. It's really coming from Satan. It's a form of Satanism, if you will. Did God really say? There is no absolute truth. Decide for yourself. Might makes right. Stealing. No private property. And of course, we know that Karl Marx was heavily involved in Satanism. Richard Wurmbrand, who spent 14 years in a Romanian communist prison, when he got out, wrote a book called Marx and Satan. And of course, we know that Karl Marx said, my object in life is to dethrone God. So I'm going to speak and show how there is a connection between Satanism, globalism, and a world of spiritual deception. And I'm going to show the trends. And then I'm going to give a positive, uplifting ending that shows how those of us who follow God, those of us who have entrusted our faith and trust through Jesus Christ, his eternal Son, God's eternal Son, we will be triumphant. And so it's going to be a glorious ending. People will be educated and encouraged, but also to make sure that people aren't deceived. Because even Christians, while we may not be deceived by a false Christ, we can be deceived by false ideologies, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to close with something that's very positive for those that are in attendance. What do you make of that, number one? And what are you going to be speaking on Tuesday night?
Well, I think your topic sounds excellent because, Satan is the illegitimate current ruler over planet Earth. And Isaiah 14 and verse 14, he says he wanted to make himself like the Most High. So he's basically designing a world where he's the God, little g, because he's trying to replace the true God, capital G. So I think your topic, fits that very well, and it helps us understand, the time period that we're living in. As far as myself, First Chronicles 12, I think it is, verse 32, talks about how the men of Issachar understood the signs of the times. They understood the times, and they knew what to do as a result. And, our Lord told us to look for the signs related to his return. In fact, he chastised in Matthew 16 the religious leaders of his day back in the first century who could discern weather patterns, but they couldn't understand the messianic season that they were living in. They rejected all of the prophecies that pointed to Christ's first coming. And I guess my contention is there are more prophecies related to his second coming than his first coming. And so we're accountable for understanding the signs of the time. So I'll just do a quick survey of some of the key things that are breaking. Issues related to Babylon, issues related to the third rebuilding of the third Jewish temple, issues related to economics, politics, religion, and how all of these things are predicted long ago in the pages of God's Word and point to the soon return of our Lord Jesus Christ, and how we as Christians are responsible and accountable for understanding these signs, and that shapes our behavior. We know what to do. We know how to live because we're students of the signs of the times.
So you're gonna have a very positive presentation as well. I don't want people to think you're gonna come there and want to jump off a bridge when you leave, because you're not. Yeah, we're gonna share with what's happening in the world, but we're gonna put it into the context of the what's coming, and it's gonna be glorious when we get past this worldly system and this kingdom that Satan is endeavoring to build. But Daniel 2 tells us that God's kingdom will come, it'll crush Satan's kingdom, and of God's kingdom there'll be no end. That's great news, isn't it? We sing a lot of songs at Christmas time, or at least some. They're not really Christmas songs. I'm thinking of one, "Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King." When you go and read that, folks, you know what that's about? That's the millennial reign of Christ, the 1,000-year reign of Christ at the end of that 7-year tribulation period. Go read the words to all the stanzas of "Joy to the World" and tell me if we don't have something glorious to look forward to. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Woods?
Well, amen. I mean, and also we need to give people the bad news, or else they won't be in a position to accept the good news. I mean, the bad news is there is a satanically designed counterfeit system at work, but the good news is it's limited. Evil is going to have its day in the sun, but that time period is going to be limited. And it's going to be replaced by the glorious return of our Lord Jesus Christ, who will orchestrate the true New World Order, where the curse, will be rolled back and people will live in just, almost Edenic, conditions again. And so that's the good news. That's what we're told to pray for, by the way. When Jesus taught the disciples to pray, he said, "Pray this way, thy kingdom come," or to pray for the arrival of this kingdom. So as one author put it, there's a better world coming, and people can switch their citizenship from this failing satanic world into the real New World Order that I want to be a part of. It's really the only New World Order that I am interested in participating in, quite frankly. But you can switch your citizenship, by placing their personal faith in Christ for salvation. So we'll be given the gospel. It's a good place for unbelievers to come if people have, unsaved friends and loved ones. So we'll be presenting the gospel. And even beyond that, we'll be telling people why the gospel is so necessary and why a switch in citizenship is so needed.
Well, the world is offering up a fake AI God. And I'm so thankful that our God is not a fake God, that it is a God that can be known, and who will reveal himself and has revealed himself through general revelation, and will do so more in special revelation as people become saved and indwelt by the Holy Spirit, and the Bible then becomes so understandable to them through the ministry of the Holy Spirit. So we don't offer a fake AI God. We offer the living God. Dr. Woods, Tuesday night, looking forward to having you with us, andywoodsministries.org. His show airs on our network on Saturday and Sundays, right, Logan? Noon Central on both Saturday and Sundays. Dr. Woods, 1,200 registered thus far, and they're still coming in. So we're going to have a packed house, and we look forward to having you with us.
Fantastic. Can't wait to get there.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. Dr. Woods checking in tonight. Oh, by the way, if you're a Vault member, you're going to be able to live stream it. Right, Logan? Logan's bringing all the equipment to live stream it for Vault members. We try to make 99% of what we do available to everybody, but it costs a lot of money to rent that building. I think it's going to be about $4,000 to rent the building. Then we've got to pay like $3,500 for security. And then we want to give an honorarium to the speakers. Hotel, we got to pick up their hotel, their airfare. It's very expensive to do free conferences. Now, we will be taking an offering to, I pray, break even at the very least. So we'll be doing that. Come prepared for an offering with a cash or checkbook to Worldview Foundation. But we also want to live stream it for Vault members who join the Vault, because that's another way we can help generate revenue to try to cover our expenses and our bills so we can keep doing things like this. So if you're a Vault member and you gain access to our 35 years, my ebooks, audiobooks, radio shows, TV shows, documentaries, conference DVDs, and more, we want to reward you and say thank you for being a Vault member and do something for you special every now and then. Well, this coming Tuesday night is going to be one of those special events for Vault members. So if you're a Vault member, you can watch it live starting at 6:30 Central to 9:30. And if you'd like to join for as little as $7.99 a month or monthly $9.99 a month, do the year rate. It comes out to $7.99 a month. Do the month to month, it's $9.99 a month. Worldviewtube.com/vault. I hope you'll join. Worldviewtube.com/vault. I am, as I said, reading the book. I thought I have it here. I guess it's over in my office. But I have the book by Richard Wurmbrand, Marx and Satan. He spent 14 years in a communist Romanian prison. If you haven't heard his testimony, you really should. You should look it up. You should go on to Amazon and type in Richard Wurmbrand and buy some of his books. He gave a testimony in 1966, a congressional testimony. He was just days from being released from his 14 years in a Romanian communist prison. They told him, his freedom was purchased. Basically, some people stepped forward and said, look, we'll pay you to let him out. They said to him before he left, the Romanian communist, if you go out of here talking bad about us, we'll hire someone to kill you. We may even hire someone to kidnap you and bring you back. But within days, he was sitting before a congressional committee giving a testimony, talking about global communism and their desire to infiltrate the Christian world with a progressive Christianity, if you will. Why I wrote the book in 2018 called Marxianity. That testimony is said to be one of the most sold government documents for the next 3 years. Richard Wurmbrand. The cruelty and the torture that Pastor Wurmbrand faced, he was in prison because he refused to bow the knee to communism. Marxism. The torture, the physical torture. During that testimony, he took his shirt off and he showed the scars on his body from the torture. It is said that they would play the recordings of cats being tortured through the PA system for those the communists had imprisoned, trying to drive them crazy. It's also been reported they played sounds of a woman being raped and would tell them that that was their wife or their daughter. There's also the report that on Resurrection Sunday, the pastors, even some of the priests, would be given a cross with feces on it. Can you imagine the satanic nature behind communism, Marxism? So I'll be speaking on Satanism, globalism, and a world of spiritual deception. But I thought this would be appropriate time to play just a few minutes of the words of this man that spent 14 years being tortured for Christ because he refused to compromise the gospel, surrender to the communist and Marxist ideology to be set free. Watch a little bit of this, will you please?
That even in the van of the secret police, I am in the hands of the Almighty God, and this gave quiet to my heart. I was led to a prison which is 30 feet beneath the earth, and for years I was kept there in solitary confinement. Don't think that I speak about my sufferings. I speak to you about the suffering of my whole country and of the church behind the Iron Curtain, which has given in these years innumerable martyrs, heroes, and saints. I have been among the little and the weak ones in prison. I speak about these great heroes of faith. In my case, you can see what happened to them. For years we were kept, everyone alone in a cell. Never have we seen sun, moon, stars, snow. Never have we seen a man except the interrogators who beat and tortured. Air entered through a tube. Never have we had a book, never a bit of paper. When after many years I had to write again, I did not remember how to write a capital D. We lay on a few desks, we looked to the ceiling, that was all. Never could we hear in this prison even the slightest noise. The guards had closed shoes, and there was a silence which you could cut with a knife. And now, in this absolute solitude, we could experience if Christianity is true or not. I am a man, a pastor apart, who doesn't know the Bible. I have not read it 14 years, and I have forgotten it. I have forgotten my theology, but I have touched spiritual realities. We have touched the world of angels, and with great humility we can reproduce the words of the apostles in the first epistle of St. John. What we have seen with our eyes, what we have heard with our ears, what we have touched with our own fingers, this we tell to you. The first time when we were put in solitary confinement was like dying. Once the angels of death will take you too, and you will remain alone with the remembrance of your past life. It has been a horrible time. Every one of us lived again his past sins and his neglects of duties. We remembered everything which we have done wrong. We were now under the eyes of God. And we remembered as often as we have said some bad word to somebody. We have made some bad deed. We were in prison with one of the greatest soul winners of Romania, something like a Billy Graham of ours. And he told us afterwards that in these years of solitary confinement, he had horrible remorses for the following thing. He had once preached in a great meeting, 400 souls surrendered to Christ, and when he left the meeting, a young man ran after him and said, "Pastor, I would like to speak to you." And the pastor turned back and said, "I am very exhausted now, I can't, come another time." And so this young man went away and he never saw him again. Then the communists came to power. On a Sunday, this pastor has preached thrice. He was very tired. In the night, the secret police came, took him and submitted him to a non-stop interrogatory of 5 days and 5 nights, and now he could, out of fear of the communists, out of fear of tortures, he could what he could not out of love to Christ. And he said to us that I wept during many days, asking myself how I will appear before God, having brought to Christ only 400 when it could have been 401. So we all had an unimaginable pain in our hearts, thinking that we have not done our utmost for the highest, for the one who has given his life for us on the cross.
Wow. Wow. Isn't that something? Is that not sobering? That these guys, these pastors, these Christians in prison, their remorse was not having done enough for Christ. This is something that Americans don't fully understand. I dare to even make the comparison, but I have thought to myself many times under the Biden regime, this must be what it was like to live in a country that fell to communism, or a country that was on the verge of communism. Perhaps you guys didn't feel that to the degree that we did. I'm sure some of you did. I'm sure some of you felt it at least to some degree. But I have to tell you, my family and I, being fully skylined, I don't know if you know what that means or not. When you climb up a mountain, when a soldier climbs up a mountain or a large hill or cliff, and there is the sun or there is the moon, there's enough light behind the individual who has climbed a mountain or a cliff or a hill, and you can see their outline, and now they're skylined. They're an easy target. They're easy to point out. They're easy to see. They're easy to be taken out. They're skylined. I had men who had gone through Vietnam, men who had soldiers under their command, who they saw physically die next to them in battle. These were hardened soldiers in battle, tender souls in ministry. And I've had these guys who know what death is like, have seen it and have smelt it, who know what fighting is like, opposing an enemy is like. And I had them during that time call me, some of them, and say, Brannon, your family is skylined. You're skylined. We're praying for you. You're on radio. You're on television. You're interviewing people that are also skylined. You're helping to give a platform to people. Now, I'm not saying this to you guys in any way to brag. The Lord has done all this. We have accomplished and done far more than I ever could have dreamed that we would be allowed to do. So you can't boast in that. But I'm telling you that these gentlemen, and some of these guys were former military, former FBI, guys that were senior citizens. These are gray-haired guys with wisdom, warning me, warning my family. That's sobering when your country is under a regime that is telling you that the Christians are the enemy, the Christians are the threat. The people that love the Lord, that love the Bible, that teach the Bible, that are patriotic, that believe in law and order, the Constitution and the laws of nature, nature's God, are potential terrorists or terrorists. That we need hate crime laws to deal with them when they speak the truth about Islam or LGBTQ or any of the protected isms of the day. We need legislation to punish them, to fine them, to lawfare them into oblivion. When that's going on, and then you have people who are formally in the military or intelligence community saying, we're concerned, we're praying for your family. I have to tell you, that's sobering. And when we saw what was happening in our nation to those who were simply praying quietly in front of abortion clinics, being dragged off to jail, when we saw what was happening to J6ers, some of them who never entered the U.S. Capitol, when we saw that people who went to school board meetings, mothers, were being labeled as potential domestic terrorists, when we were being told that people that practice the Latin Mass are potential domestic terrorists, when you're seeing the things that you never thought you would see in America happen multiple times in that 4 years, thought this must be what it feels like to be in a country that is falling to communism. What would it be like to be in that country that fully falls to communism? That I do not know. I do not know what it's like to be 30 feet underground in solitary confinement with no paper, no books to read, no sound, no light, no sky, no birds, no dogs barking, no human companionship, torture, only torture. I don't know what that's like. Richard Wurmbrand did. And I can just tell you, folks, only by having a small taste during the 4 years of the Biden regime did I come to have an appreciation for guys like Richard Wurmbrand. Because I have to tell you, I don't know if I look like I aged very much in the 4 years of the Biden regime, but I can tell you my soul aged a lot. I have not become weary of the work, as D.L. Moody said, but I have become weary in the work. And those 4 years, folks, we were starting to become very weary, not of the work, but in the work. We're becoming weary to continue to stand up and say what we're saying, knowing that with every show that our shows were being monitored. We have been told by people inside the intelligence arena, some of them who have now gotten out of the retired, that you can bank on it. Every show you do is captured by huge computers that belong to the government and immediately scan for every word you're saying. They have a dossier on you. They know exactly what you say and what you believe. And I say all that to say that in one sense, I'm thankful that we went through that. I pray we don't have to go through it again, folks. But I am now thankful because it allows me to see what men like Richard Wurmbrand went through, what men behind the Iron Curtain went through, what people in some countries go through today. Did you feel that? Not knowing what will next month bring, what will next Christmas bring. Will we be able to be broadcasters? Will we be able to speak and say the things we want to say? Will we find ourselves fighting for our very existence financially as an organization due to lawfare? I mean, I was piled on with the bills from being subpoenaed for depositions related to the voting and Mike Lindell and voting machines and all of that. I didn't endure what Mike endured. I didn't endure what some others have endured. But having been around all that and in all that and going through all that gave me the perspective of this must be what it feels like when you start seeing your nation collapsing into Marxism. And I'll tell you, that perspective now has me understanding to a small degree what Richard Wurmbrand went through as that collapse happened there in Romania. But I don't understand anything, frankly, beyond what was the initial collapse. Once it collapsed and you went into full-on persecution and imprisonment, I cannot grasp that. You can't grasp it. Try as you might tonight, you cannot grasp what it would be like to be 30 feet underground in a cell with no light, no sound, no books, no paper to write, nothing to read, no music, no laughter, not even the sound of the wind or the rain or the birds. To not see the sun come up, the sun go down. Not to have, as I said, that human companionship. Not to have the comfort of family, the tenderness of family, the love and affection of family and friends. None of that for 14 years. But on top of that, you had torture and beatings and brutal beatings and the psychological torture and the audio of cats being tortured, women being raped, being told this is your daughter, this is your wife being raped. And it helps me to understand just a little bit what we went through the last few years under the Biden regime, what is at stake. And yes, we work 7 days a week. And I don't say that to boast. I work 7 days a week. But, you know, if you love your work, they say it's not really work to one degree. But we're working 7 days a week because, folks, I've gotten a small feeling for what it's like to live under this kind of oppression. I don't want to see our country go through that for my children's sake, for my grandchildren's sake. So yeah, we're broadcasting. We're studying. We're now back to traveling after 7 years because there's a lot at stake. And I don't want to be put in a position like what we just heard many of those men in prisons thought of. All that I could have done. All that I could have done that I didn't do. If you appreciate what we're doing, we do need your support. Worldviewfoundation.com. Worldviewfoundation.com. I do drink it every night. This is one of the ways you can support us in addition, support your health at the same time. It's called Gatatana. It's a real product, folks. It's got I think 5 clinical trials behind it. You guys all know the story, right? I've shared it with you. The paper out of Canada from back in 2005, Tom Hunter was diagnosed terminally. He was raising Gatatana, phytoplankton, for his shellfish. So he started just taking it and eating it. Went to have some surgery done on it. He had cancer, I guess it was in his lungs. Went to have some surgery. They took biopsies, took out 11 samples. Sent them off, came back benign. Had a white film on his lungs. Like, what are you doing? We have the video where his daughter was talking about it, and he is talking about it. He ended up being able to live for another 10 years, retired to Hawaii. I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you a story. But I'm telling you, I believe his story, and I believe the science behind this product, and I drink it every day. Loaded with protein, loaded with amino acids, trace minerals, all kinds of important things our bodies need to have to get into the cell, at the cellular level. There's science behind this. It's food as medicine. You guys do what you want. I'm taking my Bella Grace every day. I'm using my Numi, and I'm taking my Gatatana. And you see me take it on TV, and I do that because I want you to know this is not a joke. I really do this. I really take these products. And you often see me taking them on the air. And I think it's a great way to support your health and support us at the same time. So I hope you'll go to melissahousegpa.com and get a subscription. Prescriptions have spiked. In the middle of February, subscriptions spiked. And it was really after we told in great detail the story of the man behind it all, Tom Harper. And of course, David Hunter of GPA, Global Plankton Alliance, was working with Mr. Hunter. So this is 100% natural, comes in a little container, and the little scoop is so small, and you just take one scoop, and then one scoop is the equivalent of 90 billion plant cells. And it gets into the cells of your body. I give a half a scoop to Dolly every day on her food every morning. They have a pet product. You'll find it at mosthousegpa.com, or you just do what I do. I just buy what's for me, and I share it with Dolly every day, every morning. This is a real product. And of course, there's science behind it. You'll find the science at mosthousegpa.com. And again, it's a great way to support us and your health. I hope you'll do that. mosthousegpa.com.
They had diagnosed me with quite a serious cancer. In fact, a very serious cancer. It's called mesothelioma. And there's only about 2,000 cases a year in North America. Nobody survives.
With just 9 weeks to a few months to live, Mr. Harper did the unimaginable.
I was not expecting what I heard. They basically gave him 9 weeks to 9 months to live.
Well, it was a pretty big blow, so trying to get my affairs in order, which had to be done. We then, just basically settled down for me to start slowly, dying.
I had to go down and pick out his grave plot, and that was a really, just a very horrible, raw, vulnerable time. While all this was happening, getting ready for his surgery, we'd all been giving him a bit of a hard time because he had been eating phytoplankton out of the tanks at work. And I was actually getting pretty upset with him about doing that because it's for whales, it's for oysters, it's for fish, it's for krill. So I said, are you crazy? He's literally sticking his finger in the tanks and eating this stuff raw.
I started on a daily routine of just taking a bit of paste, putting it in my mouth, and wash it down with a drink of water and go about my daily business, what I could do. And within about 10 to 15 days, here I am, starting to less pain in my back. I knew that something was going on, so I just kept eating half a teaspoon of this paste a day. I was booked to go for surgery in Victoria where they're going to do what they call a talc treatment, and they take a medical grade talcum powder, they introduce it into between your lungs and your pleural lining and keep you in the hospital for a few days. And that there causes your lungs to fuse together, and it stops you from drowning in your own fluids that are built up.
The head surgeon came out and had a very odd look on his face. I said to my mom, oh my God, something's happened. My dad's died. And I was just shaking and panicking. And the surgeon came up to me and he said, I don't know what's going on here, but there's a strange foreign white substance covering your dad's tumors in his lungs, and we've never seen anything like it before.
Well, lo and behold, they went in there to have a look, saw something they never seen before, took 11 sites, sent them away for biopsy, and I got the news back. Everything was benign. They just did not know what to make of it. Everything was absolutely clean. Well, the surgeons are saying that they don't know what I had. They don't know if what I created and I'm taking had any effect on the cancer. All they can tell me is they've never seen what they saw inside of me, and I attribute this to my algae. I fully believe that with all my heart. I do moderate exercise every day. I watch what I eat. I lead a very normal life. And as a bonus, I've lost weight and I've tried dieting all my life because I'm a diabetic, or I was a diabetic. If it's a coincidence or not, I don't know. But anyway, my blood sugar started dropping. My weight started falling off. And I ended up probably within about a 6-month period, here I am no longer requiring insulin, and I was taking 88 units a day of insulin. And I now can eat just about what I want in moderation, and I have no elevated sugar levels, and I feel fabulous.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so I take it every day. You can do what you want, but there you go. Worldview, or MelissaHowseGPA.com, MelissaHowseGPA.com. All right, we are, again, looking forward to being with many of you in Milwaukee, April 15th. coming up very fast. Tell everybody, spread the word. worldviewtube.com/events to get your free tickets. I hope you'll be there. worldviewtube.com/events. If you can't, pray for us for protection, for travel, and that it'll be a great evening and of edification, equipping people, encouraging people, and that it'll be something that's more than just one night. It'll have some real spiritual, long-term impact on those who are there, including the speakers. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. I would go to the dolly cam if it would work, because she went out, then she came back in, she went out, she's back in, but she's now settled down. We're gonna wake her up, take her out, play a little tennis ball with her. She's here. I don't think, the dolly cam went out. I don't know, they gotta get that fixed. That's a popular, we hear a lot about Dolly here, I'll tell you that. Some of you in Milwaukee might get a chance to meet her, I think, so we'll see about that. Worldviewfoundation.com, thank you again for your support, helping us to keep this broadcast going. Let me thank all of you that are supporting us. Thank you. Those that can't, don't you worry about it. That's one reason why we push it out for free. We want to be a broadcast service and ministry to you, even if you can't afford to help us out. But if you can and you're not, would you please consider doing so? Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. That's our broadcast for tonight, April 9th, 2025. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howse.
Government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
Glad you're with us on this April 9th, 2025. I'm going to have on Patrick Wood, and we're going to talk about the Great Reset. Ray Dalio sees a once-in-a-lifetime collapse in economic, political, and geopolitical orders. Folks, is this the Great Reset? Is this the Great Reset? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I don't know. But wow, there's a lot of controversy, isn't there, about the tariffs? And of course, as we're coming on the air today, we're being told that President Trump has just put a 90-day pause on all tariffs, but adding a 125% tariff on China, as he says. Well, China is definitely an evil, evil group. The CCP. I mean, let's make it clear. We've done a lot on China. You go read their unrestricted warfare document. Came out in 1999, written by two Chinese